So yeah, this is the filter, and like the hierarchy is actually pretty simple. Like it literally is just. Oh, by the way, like thumbs up. Can you like? Is this big enough? Y'all can see everything and read it. Okay, cool. Um, so the hierarchy is like very simple. It really is just this VFX graph placed in the scene, and then like some post processing stuff. That's it. Um, and so this is what that VFX graph actually looks like. And we'll kind of like dive into all these different sections, um, kind of step by step. But I'll start at the very top, which is like just spawning the particles. If I simplify this, well, we'll keep those. We'll keep that going. Um, so the kind of the key here is like I'm just burst spawning a bunch of cube particles and then attaching them to different places on the mesh. And so that's what this. So see, this is like the spawn system here is a single burst, constant, and it's just a 1,200 cubes. That's all it is, and attaching it to different vertices. And so the way that you actually attach it to all these vertices is this one key node here. It's this position node. Oh, okay, real quick. I'm gonna, because this is way too bright. Turn that off. So that's me turning off the post process, and then I'm gonna unhook the color here. Okay, cool. I'll set this intensity to. Oh yeah, and then the other big thing that I did here is I made the blend mode additive. And so this is kind of what gives it that kind of like glowy, ethereal look to it. Just for like understanding's sake, I'll switch this over to opaque so it'll be easier to see what's going on. So yeah, so this is basically what it looks like if you burst a bunch of. We love ethereal. Thanks, Bell. This is just what it looks like if you burst 1,200 particles onto our face, right? So if you zoom in real close, you can see like it's a bunch of individual cubes attached to different vertices on the face. And so then from there, I started layering a bunch of things in. Let's pause this. Sure. Yeah, exactly. So if you do, say you do like 400, you only get like half the face. And so this was actually just me trial and error of like, cool, what's the right amount of particles to like properly cover the face and get all of the vertices. And 1,200 was like the jam. And then to go down here, so essentially what you're doing is this is a position node. So it's saying like on a per particle basis. So when it's computing one particle, it will go through and be like, okay, set the position of this one particle, and then it grabs the next particle and adds a position. And so what you can do is you can actually sample skinned meshes. So I use just our basic face mesh, but you could bring in a full character rig. You could do any sort of skinned mesh, anything with blend shapes going crazy. And like it'll still sample it. And then essentially what you do is you say like get attribute particle ID. So what this is doing is saying like which particle am I spawned? Was I the 5th one that was spawned, the 100th one that was spawned, 1,000th one that was spawned? And then it goes into the skinned mesh and it says like which vertex is next? Is like I'm the 1,000th particle. Cool, I'm gonna choose the 1,000th vertex, and then that's the position that I'm gonna set myself to. And so that's what this node does. And so that's kind of how you get this like face mesh thing. So the next thing that you like when I'm building out a procedural network, you kind of have to have this like base layer, either a color or a noise of some sort, things like that. For this one, I knew I wanted to have this like rolling pulse thing that goes through my face or through the face of the filter. And that's basically a sine wave. Like every single time, if you want to have like a pulse looking thing, if I were to draw it out, right? So like this is what a sine wave looks like, which kind of looks like a pulse. I mean, that is kind of the thing. And so then you kind of you start with this base layer, and you can morph it from there. So you can say like, oh, okay, cool. I want, I want it to be taller, or I want it to be more stretched out. So or maybe you want to offset it. So you want this, rather than being this shape, you want it to be like this shape, right? And so the way you do that is by like taking a sine wave signal, and you kind of multiply it. You might add, subtract, things like that. And by doing that, you're gonna like take this pulse and kind of morph it in different ways to get the shape that you're looking for. And so here in the VFX graph, that would be this sine wave node. And so you input, if you want it to change over time, then you feed in time into the sine wave, and then you just tell it what frequency that is. So we'll do a visual here. Sine wave node, right? We'll say that that's the color. So what this is going to do is go between 0 and 1. Oh, it's not going to do this live. This is really annoying. Real quick, I'll create. So one thing to know about VFX graph is it won't give you live feedback of what you're doing until you create, but it will allow you to do it if you create a variable and then plug it into the thing that you're trying to like mess around with. So I just create like a dummy variable here. It's a float. I plug it into the thing that I'm trying to mess with, and then you should be able to. Oh, I hate when stuff goes wrong. This is great. This is great. Okay. Yeah, why is... Oh, no, because the node is disactivated. That's why. I was like, this should be working. Here we go. So you can see, like, as I change the value of the input, it's kind of going through that pulse wave, right? So, like, here what's going is, like, as I move input from -3 to like +3, it's sampling this thing at different spots, and so you're going to get any value from like between 0 and 1 is essentially what's happening here, right? So say 0 and 1, and then this input is kind of like going between those two different values, sampling it. But you can also change that. You can say like, cool, it's going to go from like +3 to -3 or whatever. And as you go through these things, right, it's going to go through like really dark, deep black to like really, really bright. And so like, cool, we have a sine wave. It's pulsing through. What's the next step? If you want to have it change through time, you should create a time node. Which, by the way, I guess I should explain. Like, I'm right clicking here. I'm hitting create node, and then this like giant window comes up, and so you can kind of search for whatever node you actually want. So this is timescale game, or like you want like VFX time. There's a bunch of different types of time. I won't go into what they all mean, but different times mean different things. So total time VFX is the node I want. Like a cooking show, it's ready for me magically. So you can see now it's pulsing over time automatically. And so you can change the frequency. You can say it's really slow. If it's a low frequency, you can make it really fast with high frequency, right? And then kind of building out from there, it's like, okay, well, I want to offset this pulse based off of where it is in the face, because I want it to like roll vertically, right? And so that's where this bunch of nodes over here comes in. What I'll do is I'll just drag this over. I'll delete this. So that's where this all comes in. So this is what I had created before, right? So we'll just plug this in. Yeah, that's a no sine wave, right? This is what you expect. And then to do the vertical offset, it's like, okay, we need to sample, like where is this particle like in vertical object space? And then you want to like take this pulse and you want to offset it in one direction or the other. Bell asks, wait, are we using the sine wave to generate the runtime? You are not. You're using a time node for time. So this node right here. And then you're using that to offset automatically. So like as time marches forward, so like, what's the right way to say this? Let me start a new layer. One way to think about this is that this is time. So at 0 seconds, you're going to get this value, which is 0.5. Maybe if I do this. So if this is 1 and this is 0, and then this is time. So at like, 0.5 seconds, you'll be here. So you're going to get a value of what? That's like 0.75. Maybe at 1 second, you're here. And so you're going to get a value of 0. Maybe at like 1.5 seconds, you'll be here. So you're going to get a value of 1. It's Tom. This chat is related to this project currently, but you can ask questions at the end, and I'm more than happy to help you out. But Belle, does that help make sense? Okay, cool. And so this time node is kind of like shoving you through that pulse, and then on top of that, we want to add offsets, right? So we want to offset this time by vertical, like where you are on the face. So like say, we'll start with green. This chart is going to get real confusing really quick. So say like all spots are here. What you would actually want is like the bottom of the face. So the chin would be here in time, and then like the forehead is here in time, and then the nose is here and here, like in the middle, right? So it's like there's your mouth, come here. There's like eyes. So you kind of want to like stretch. You want to stretch the face in time. Is like how I think about it. It's not totally intuitive, but once you start playing with it, you're going to be like, oh, okay, like if I do this, if I multiply this, if I scale this down, like that, it starts to do what I want it to do. So just to do an offset is basically an add or a subtract. And so that's what we do here is we say like, what is my position in Y? Scale it. So we'll just do this flat. But what is my position in Y? And then like add it to the time and then plug it into my sine wave. And what you end up getting is this. So you're doing this offset, right? And so then if you want to scale the face, so scale is multiply or divide, and add subtract is like offset, doing an offset. And so it's like, cool, this kind of works, but I want the pulse to be either like larger or smaller or whatever. That's when you add this multiply in. And you'll see like the pulse has now gotten smaller. So it started as 1, started as this, and then you scale it down, you scale it down, and you scale it down to 4, and you scale it down to 5, you scale it down to 10, and you get these like tiny little pulses that are kind of like moving through the face. And so that's kind of like the base layer of what I was trying to do. Is like, cool, now I have a pulse running through the face. Now I can drive a bunch of different effects off of that pulse, right? But like, it doesn't necessarily have to be in Y. It could also be in X. So you could have it go like a sideways swipe. You could also have it go in depth with Z, right? Which is kind of cool. Now that I've seen it, I've never played with this, but I'm going to be playing with this after this. Yeah, maybe I should have published that one instead. I like that. The Z looks sick. Yeah, sure. What's up? Yes, this is object space. So it's getting your current position in object space and then doing that. So when you rotate, it'll still be vertical. But you could also do world space, right? You could totally say like, where am I in world? So as you like rotate through, like it's still kind of like pulsing through in whichever direction you chose. Yeah, it's one of these nodes. At risk of doing this live. Position. Yes, you have position, old position, target position. The other thing that you have is over here. There's like a world space. Oh yeah, here we go. So like local versus world is like the other control. So it'll control which kind of, it's built-in assumptions of what kind of position you're getting with, and what position you're getting and what you're modifying. I believe there are also nodes to transform from object space to world space and back. If you're like, ooh, I'm in local space, but I want to do this thing in world space, you can also do that. It gets a little bit more complex. Let's see. I wonder if you can do Z going the opposite. Yeah. So that would actually be, it's really easy. So we have this thing going in this direction. You just take this, make it a negative. So you flip the sign and it makes it really easy. But yeah, I kind of like this too. All right, cool. So we have a pulse that's going in the wrong direction. Let's go back to Y. So now we have this thing. Make it go diagonally. Yes, you can. Sorry, what's up? Hoffman? Oh, yes, that's what I was just showing. Sorry, I should have said that out loud. Like, oh, Kendall's asking. And Tom's asking, is it possible to make it go diagonally? Yes, you would actually you would take these, like the X and Y, and mix them together. So if you were to do like, let's say you add them. And plug it in and hit compile. And it'll go diagonally. So it's just taking these, you think of these as different signals, and you kind of have to like mix them together and mush them together to try and do the thing that you're trying to do, right? And we can do other, like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a sine wave. I don't want to over index on this, but it's also like probably the most important thing is like, for generative stuff, is like it's taking basic signals, and all it is mixing and mashing them together, right? So like one other way would be noise. So you could do like Perlin 3D noise. And so you can say like, where am I in 3D space? And then where's my color node? Oh, I'm just raw taking this thing out. Okay. Right, so I've taken in 3D noise, I've taken in the position of the face here, and then I'm just going to take like the X and just plug it in. And it's not going to work because I'm not changing anything, am I? If it was moving, I think it would do something. Oh, I'd have to like, yeah, where's all my time? Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I'm going to move this back so this is easy to do. This thing's about to break. I probably shouldn't have done this right now. Octaves. Yeah, so you're getting like, right? So now we get like really, really cool stuff by using Perlin noise, which if you don't know what Perlin noise, yeah, it's like marble. So Perlin noise is just kind of this like marbly looking signal. There's other types of noise, and these are all the base layers. So if you've seen if you've seen The Good Dinosaur, actually, to use an example, if you've seen The Good Dinosaur, like all of the trees and vegetation in that is basically this. Like at a base level, it's taking sine waves, Perlin noise, mixing it together with some other like equations, and you get this like beautiful trees and plants and stuff like that. Same thing for the movie, the Brave. All of the movie in Brave, or all of the vegetation in the movie Brave, is using these techniques. And so it's adds, subtracts, multiplies, divides, and noise. That's it. So, anyways, Perlin noise does really cool things. I'm totally gonna. This is like something I wanted to play with. Let's see. Let's get back on the rails though. So you'll expect to see like some more filters in the future that use Perlin noise. What's up, Hafid? Did you have a question? Oh, yeah. I mean, probably the easiest would be like, because I think my screen is being shared. Come here. It's struggling. So this is what Perlin noise looks like. This is what 2D Perlin noise looks like. So it's kind of this like foggy, but with like a little bit of texture to it, and kind of just like random. But there's like a tons of different types of noise, and you can control. The interesting thing about Perlin noise is that you can kind of control how sharp it is, how dark it is, like the scale. Like you have a bunch of different controls, and especially like how many different layers. So like actually, this is a really good example. So like this is all Perlin noise with different parameters. So you can set like the scale. That's dangerous. But you can set like the scale and how many layers are like mixing together in Perlin noise. Oh yeah, the cube part. Sorry. So here, when I'm creating the mesh, thanks for picking up that question. I totally missed that one. So here, I have this like mesh that I just said was cube. You could basically, you can make it capsules if you wanted to. See? So we have little capsules all over the place. You can make it like full-on characters. So that's maybe, oh, cool, it didn't crash. So you can see like we have little faces inside of faces, which is kind of nuts. You can kind of do whatever. And because it's all instance geometry, it's actually really, really efficient. Sorry, I lost Discord real quick. So you can do, yeah, you can do kind of like crazy stuff. I wanted to keep it simple, so I went and used the cube mesh. Cube. Yeah, cube. And then this cube texture. So you'll see how like when these things go through, see how it has this like fall off towards the edges. So it's like glowing in the center, and then there's a fall off towards the edge. That's this cube texture. That's all it is. Let's see, questions. Is there a way to preview values in Unity? I always struggle to wrap my head around all the nodes, like the viewer node in Blender. Oh, yeah, so yes and no. So what I'll do is I'll create a variable. So if I'm wondering like, oh, what does frequency do? I'll create just a random variable and I'll plug it into frequency. And then I will sit there and like change the value and watch what happens. And so the variable, there's no way to like, you can't like adjust the slider while it's, you can't adjust the slider without having a variable node hooked up to it, which is actually really annoying. And then to like, if you're just like, oh, I want to preview this node, what is the output of this node? There's no quick and easy way to do that. You have to plug it into something. So what I tend to do when I'm working on stuff is I'll just set up a dummy color node over here in the output, and I'll just plug it into one of the channels. So in this example, right, like I have the output of the sine wave just plugged into the X value, which is the red channel of the color node, but you could plug this into like X, Y, and Z, and you'll get white. And so then now when I play around with frequency, right, like, yeah, sure, Hafid, what's up? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is like, unfortunately, no. So this is how I get around it. Is I'll usually plug it into the color just to see what's happening. So like same thing is we can say like say add. So I have just a simple add node, right? I'm like, what on earth does 0 plus 0 look like? Oh, cool, it's black. That means the value is 0. Or like 0.5 plus 0. Oh, cool, it turns out is gray, which is 0.5. So similar thing, but like obviously more complex when you start adding all these different nodes together. But it's really about understanding that the display that you're seeing here it's just taking the raw numbers out of your graph and turning them into an RGB value from 0 to 1. So your X is R, your Y is G, your Z is B. So if you see something that's super red, that means there's like a high X value and everything else is 0. Or if you see that it's blue, that means that the Z value, the B value is really high, but everything else is 0. I don't know if that totally made sense. I tried my best. But part of it is, you play around with it, you start to get an intuitive understanding of what all these, like what the values actually mean, what the colors actually mean. Like, Kendall asked, like, do you actually see the small faces in the filter when it's done? Yeah, if I were to use that face mesh as the instance mesh and then wear it, Like you would see little tiny faces if you got really, really close, which, you know, we can publish it. I think that might be interesting. All right. We have made it as far as this. So after this, I had the kind of like, I had the base layer of a sine wave pulse, right? And I was like, cool, I want to like modulate both rotation, I wanted to modulate color, and I wanted to modulate size. And that's what these different sections do. So this whole section down here, whoops, okay, that whole section down here is just for color. There's one tiny little section here, which is for rotation, and then this whole section here is for scale. And let's see. So what we can do, I have the basic one here. You know what, rather than doing that, because this is all properly hooked up, how do I want to do this? We'll go full color, and then we'll work backwards from there. We'll start turning off nodes. So you can see it's kind of wiping through now, because I've done this like mix, right? So if I were to bypass this and just use the Y value, let me get back to vertical. Let's see. I'm going to raise my hand to avoid interrupting with this lag. Okay. We'll just stay. Okay, cool. So now we're back with this vertical wipe. And so what I'm doing here is I'm feeding that base vertical wipe pulse into a bunch of different color changing nodes, I guess is the best way to say it. So we'll start with this one. Let's see if this will make any visual sense when we do it. Okay, so you see we have this nice gentle wipe, and so to compare that to the raw wipe, so you can see how when this wipe is going through, it's like really, really gradual. So this is in the actual filter. This is what the vertical. These are the values that I used, and it's this like really smooth kind of gradual thing. However, I wanted it to be this like narrow band of highlight on the first different parts of the pulse. So I wanted like different widths of band, and the way that you do that is a PAL node. So there's this power node, and what the PAL node does. So you see nice and gradual, nice and smooth. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to like grab one pixel. There we go. So when I do the PAL node, notice it gets much sharper. And so essentially what it's doing is it's multiplying the signal by itself. So if we have a pulse that looks like this, and you multiply it by itself, what ends up happening is power node. It's a POW node. Sorry, Hafid asked if it was a power or a power. Was it pound or power node? Yeah. So what it does is it multiplies this thing, and so when you take like low numbers, so this is numbers down here like 0.1, 0.2, and numbers up here like 0.9. What ends up happening is you get an output signal that ends up looking more like this. Just more or less, right? And then like it gets like really peaky. And so it's a way of kind of like taking any of your signals and scrunching them in. And the more of an exponent you use, the higher the pow you use, the peakier it gets. So like this would be like if you have a pow of, say this green one is like a curve of 3 or a pow of 3, that's what the curve looks like. And then if you were to do something that's like 10, it would do something like this. And so what that looks like in practice is you're seeing like a general. So we have the glow gradient. No. We have grow power. Grow power. Where's the grow power node? Grow power. So right now I have a value of 7, but if I take that up to, I should zoom in on this. So this is my input signal on the power node, and then we have this like, this is the exponent, and this is how much power you actually apply. Right now it's a value of 7, but if we make it like, yeah, what are we at? 50. So you can see it's like really thin now. Or if I were to do like 200, you can see it's like almost a solid line that's like really thin. But if we take it back down to 1, it's this like nice gradual thing. So all it does is it takes your pulse signals and makes them sharper. Questions? You see this? Basically offline. Is there a difference between a squared sine wave and a sine wave that just has a smaller period? Is there a difference between a squared sine wave and a sine wave that just has a smaller period? Yes, I don't know if we actually have a squared sine, because a square, so for people who don't know, a squared sine wave basically looks like this. So like you're not going to have any like curve to mess with. Oh, squared. Sorry. You meant like power of 2. Yeah. So a squared sine wave. So this would be like a regular sine wave. A squared sine wave, so a power of 2 sine wave, would be peakier. It would look like that. That's a terrible drawing, but yeah. So it makes it sharper. So that's the pow node, and then so I had a number 7 on this, and so I'm feeding this kind of pulse into a gradient. So there's these things called gradient nodes, and they allow you to like do really complex color curves. And these color curves is like if you feed in a number of, let's see, where's the gradient node? So they say time. So if you feed in a time of 0 seconds, then you'll get the very beginning of the gradient. And if you feed in a time of 1, you'll get the very end of the gradient. So basically over here is time 0 or value 0 or whatever. And then over here is time 1, value 1, and then anywhere in between. And so you can see like as this pulse is going through, like this is value 0. And then as this white pulse comes through, like the center of the pulse is 1. And then it's like a fall off between those two. If we feed that into this gradient node, hopefully that explanation made sense. And we compile. So now we start sampling this gradient, right? So 0, let's see. So you can see like, here's where the pulse was black, and so it's giving you this color. And then like in the middle of the highlight, where it's 1, is giving you this gray color, and then it's giving you like the gradient in between. Does that all make sense? Thumbs up. I'll read chat for a second while y'all think about that. So that's how we get the gradient. So I was like, all right, cool. That adds these nice little like, if we were to add, let's make this additive again. So you can see we get this like really cool thing. And the reason that essentially the reason that I made this gray here in the middle is because it was getting too bright. And so I was like, okay, I need to knock the middle of the brightness down a little bit. But everything else was like, okay, how can we make it look like these cubes are kind of like heating up, growing, and then like fading back out. The other thing that I've done, if we're gonna swap over to this bottom section, so that's like this top pulse section, right up until here. Well, up until here, this is everything that we've explored. Down here at the bottom, I have this like other weird thing, and it's like, why did you do this? What is happening? So one thing that I didn't like was that all of the cubes were like basically the same color. Let's make this opaque again so it's easier to see. Opaque. So one thing I didn't like is that all the cubes are like the same color, and so I was like, okay, I need to like mix this up a little bit. And so that's what you see here. So there's like a little subtle, like this one's blue, this one's kind of like a little like greenish color. Some of them are a little bit desaturated blue, right? And that's what this whole thing does, which is probably a weird way to do it. But it's a switch node, which allows you, a switch node is a really easy way to have like multiple options, and then easily toggle between all of them. And so I was like, cool, I want 3 different types of colors. And then I'm going to feed these subtly different blues into the switch node and then randomly select between them. So like to make this a little bit more obvious, we'll make that one yellow. We'll make this one like pink. And so when I zoom out, you can see like, cool, we're kind of like randomly choosing like these are going to be yellow, this one's going to be pink, that one's going to be blue, right? And the way that we're doing that is I'm just generating a random number. That's this node. I'm saying per particle, choose a random number. The output of this is going to be anywhere from 0 to 3. But you could do 0 to 100, and you could have 100 different options. You could do 0 to 1 and have 2 different options, like whatever you want. And I plug it into the switch node here at the top, and then it'll just randomly choose between these 3 and a default. So it's like it's like slightly weighted more towards this bottom one, but I don't think that really matters. Get these back to blue. Perfect. Real quick, there's a question. Is it always the same number on load, or can we create a random number for every load? It is... I don't know. It's always deterministic based off the seed, but I guess what you could do. This is per particle, per component, you could probably do. There's probably a way to generate like a true random number. So typically you wouldn't want to do that, because if you have issues with your filter, what's the right way to say this? If you have issues with your filter and everything is like truly random, it's really hard to debug, because you're gonna like press play and it's gonna be completely different. And you're like, okay, why did that happen? There's probably a way to say like on load or whatever, like generated a pseudo random number that you can kind of like harken back to. Oh yeah, constant. Oh yeah, sure enough. Look at that. Tade, the magician, coming in. So if you want a truly random number, just uncheck this box. That's all you actually need to do. But I prefer to actually use ones that are seeded, so that it's kind of like always deterministic, and then I can easily like debug if I have weird, crazy issues. Tom, hopefully that answered your question. I'll assume yes. I think so, yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah. So randomly selecting a different color, plugging it in. And so then I wanted to use these base colors as like the base layer, and then I wanted to blend that kind of like highlighted colorful pulse on top of it. And that's what this lerp node does. But I noticed there's a question: is there a switch node in shader graph to select materials? I don't actually know if there is a switch node in shader graph or not. And some kind of one of the annoying things is that the shader graph team and the VFX graph team like didn't talk to each other. And so they name things slightly differently and they work things slightly differently. I vastly prefer the VFX graph to the shader graph personally. But I've also heard the same thing from other artists. So yeah. If not though, shader graph, you can actually write your own custom nodes and drop them in. So either you could or someone else has built a switch node that you could like bring in a shader graph and plug in. So yeah, so I have these two things. I have this like base layer of random colors. I have, just to remind you, this like colorful pulse thing that's going through. And I want to mix these two. And so the way that I typically mix two signals is the lerp node, LERP. This stands for linear interpolation. And so what it does is it takes signal A and signal B and then blends them together based off of a weighted value, which is this like this S down here. So if you say, for clarity's sake, yeah. So if we say 0, it'll just use the top signal. And if you say 1, it'll just use this bottom signal. Why is it? Oh, right. We weren't looking at the output here. 1, 0. Yeah. Okay. Great. So 0, it'll use this input, which is coming from here, which is all the random colors. And then if you set 1, it'll just use this bottom one, which is the crazy colorful pulse. And if you do like 0.5, then it does like a nice blend between the two, right? So to make this a little bit more obvious, again, we can make this thing bright yellow. So you can see it's like blending in between these two different signals. And so, but what I wanted to do was I actually wanted to use the pulse as my blend, right? So it's like where the pulse is going through, I want to use that as my big glowing thing, and then everywhere else I just want to have the base layer of colors. And so what I did is I fed this signal into the lerp node as this S value. So not 0, not 1, but kind of this moving pulse. And what that allows you to do is almost like you're using it like an alpha mask. So where it's white, it's going to use the pulse color, and then everywhere else it's going to use the base color. No. Come here. Compile. And so it's really obvious when I have it built this way, right? Like you see how the yellow just kind of like disappears as the color gradient goes. And so it's this pulse into this lerp into my color output. And that's how I did the color. The thing that I didn't like, real quick, I'm going to switch this back to blue so it's not so disturbing. So one thing I didn't like is that it felt very static, right? It's like, cool, we have this like glowing pulse that's like moving through the thing. but like, how do we make this thing have a little bit more life and fun and stuff? And so I was like, oh, you know what? It'd be cool if the cubes were like growing as the pulse ran through the face. And so that's where this set scale node comes in. And so here you can drive the scale values like directly. You can also, so you can see I'm using the pulse to sit here and like drive the scale of the cubes as it kind of runs through, right? And the wonderful thing about the set scale node is you can also drive x values, y values, and z values directly. So say if I only wanted the cubes to scale vertically, but everything else is the same, like that's as easy as just come here, compile. So you can see, like, just as simple as that. Like, cool, I can drive, and so they can be like flat, and then they grow, and the pulse comes through, and then like back to normal. It's all super flexible, and again, it's just that same like white sine pulse here at the very beginning, and then plugging it into the rest of the network to set the scale. And so what I did is, let's see, and we'll take this. Oh, come on. Scale. So I started with a base layer, which is so tiny that we can't see it. But it has like just a small amount of variation. This base layer is like, some of the cubes are like slightly bigger, slightly smaller. There's a way to visualize that. I guess you could just take my word for it, right? So it's like I have this scale variation number. Oh, no wonder it's set to 0. Maybe I didn't actually use this in the end because it all got negated. There is the ability to have variation in these things, but apparently I turned it off in the end. And then I added it to the pulse as it comes in. Scale. Thanks. Tade says, taking my word for it. So I appreciate that. So I have these like the sine wave pulse coming in. And I fed it into this remap node. And so what the remap node does is, what's the right way to describe this? Say you have a signal that's like this. And you can say like, cool, this is 0, this is 1. But actually, I want my scales, like my scales aren't from 0 to 1, they need to be like -10 to 25 or something like that, right? Because you want these cubes to be like scaled massively or really small or whatever. And so what the remap node does is it allows you to define like, okay, what scale is your input and what scale is your output. So you want this thing to be like from 30 to -25 for some reason, right? You take it through the remap node and it'll scale this thing up so that you get the output of your, maybe I should change colors here. Right, so you have this signal, and the remap node, the output of the remap node will rescale this thing so it looks like this. And it can be whatever you plug into it, it will, whatever signal, it'll just kind of remap it out. And so I was taking in the input pulse here of the sine wave into the remap node and setting it to the cube min and cube max scales that I wanted, which ended up not being that different. But you can say like, so you can see like, what if I wanted the max scale to be like 4.65, which looks insane. Like, cool, that's a thing I can do. Or what if I wanted the minimum value to be like negative, so it like inverts itself and then like goes back out? Like, isn't that cool? Right? It actually is kind of cool. That's all stuff that you can do with the remap node. Remap node makes it super easy. And so I remapped the signal. I added just a little bit of offset, which I ended up not using. And then that's kind of like what gave us this. Then, for some reason, I added another curve here. And honestly, I have no idea why I did this. To this day, I have no idea why I did this. Probably because like it wasn't like the edge of the ramp wasn't quite right or something like that, and I wanted it to be a little bit smoother. I'll show you the technique when I talk about rotations. Cool, Tom. Thanks for coming out, hanging out. And yes, we will definitely do more sessions in the future. If y'all keep requesting, we'll make it happen. But I added that in. We got the output scale here. The last thing that I wanted, which you probably don't even notice, is in the filter. Like, y'all probably have no idea that this was here. Right, let's turn off the glow as well. Oops. Or the pulse. So if you watch these cubes long enough, you'll see that like they randomly rotate. And so I wanted this thing where it's just like cool from time to time, like if you're really paying attention, if you're just there static, like little cubes are kind of like rotating in space. And so the node that's doing that is this set angle. And so you can kind of like rotate in Y. So rotating in Y, but I could also rotate in X and Z if I wanted to. And you can see like it kind of does this like crazy spin on all axes now. Oh, Tade noticed. Thanks for noticing. Oh, he was lying. Okay, thanks. And so essentially I took time and ran it through like a bunch of crazy things. So let's see, what's the right way to talk about this? This one's like harder to break down. This is like me really experimenting for a while to like actually make this work. Let's get these. There's a question. How long did this take you to build when you first did it? So like just getting the cubes in place, like just like figuring all of this out, probably took me like, I don't know, 2 hours. And then I dropped it for a few months. And then I came back to it because I had like a really crisp vision for how I wanted to finish the thing. And it probably only took me another 2 hours to like fine tune kind of the glow wipe, maybe 3 hours to fine tune the glow wipe and the scale and all the other stuff, and just kind of like layering things in. So there's a lot of experimentation of kind of like this doesn't look right, try a different technique. That doesn't look right, try a different technique. Though honestly, probably the rotation was the thing that took me the longest because I was like, how am I gonna make this with only like a few, with a few cubes? So let's do. Bell says that's so quick. Full disclosure, I was known for being quick back in the day. That was like my claim to fame. So if it takes you longer, like, don't. Yeah, it's fine. So let's see. I'm trying to modulo ain't gonna help me. It might be easier to break this down, like, because it's gonna give me weird results no matter what. I'll make it more frequent. 25. I'm gonna do it like this. Yeah, as Kendall points out, there's a 2-month break to re-energize and get new ideas, and sometimes that's needed in the creative process. Exactly. Like, that's the only. I was thinking about it for 2 months. What did I break? Oh, I think I know what it was. Modulo. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, great. Okay. So this is like the V effect. So this is like time. So it's like over time, you're just kind of like plugging it through. I sped it up a little bit. So like if you're to do like 10, this controls like the animation speed. So I wanted it a little bit faster than real time. And then what this does is it adds an offset so that they're not all turning at the same time. So what this is saying is like, cool, like, if I were to not do this offset. Right? So now, so like, if I don't have this per particle offset, oh, it's going to happen every 25 seconds. Let's do 2 seconds. So like, this is saying like every 2 seconds, run through the animation again. So you can see like the whole face is just going at one time, which is not great. And so I was like, okay, I need to do like a per particle time offset. And so like, how do you do offsets? Adds and subtracts. And so you would add, I basically wanted to generate a small offset per particle, add it to the time so we can say like, cool, this particle is offset by like 1 second. Particle number 2 is offset by like 2 seconds or whatever. The range can be anywhere from 0 to 1200 because that ended up looking the best. And I use that. So you can see like it adds like just a little bit of offset for all of the particles. And so what you end up getting, I don't know if this is going to make sense if I plug it in, but let's try. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. That's sometimes the hard part of like visualizing these nodes because you're like, I have no idea what to make of that. But essentially, we're getting this like, we're getting this time value that's offset, and when you plug it into a curve, that's the right way to describe this. So like, I have just this like raw value of like, okay, I want to go from 0 to 1, which is coming from over here. It's time. And I want to use that to sample the curve of, I'm realizing that if I just draw this, it'll be like easier. So I have this curve that rotates the thing in Y by like from 0 to 1, which really it's 0 to 90 degrees, right? But I want this thing to happen on this like crazy long timeline. So over this like 500-second timeline, I want to have this like big long animation, right? So actually what my animation looks like is this. A little bit smoother, but because it's scaled down, right? And then each particle is like somewhere on this timeline. So like, you know, this is, say this is particle 2, or cube 2, and then like cube 6 is here, and cube 9 is like over here. And so what I'm doing is I've like generated this like crazy long. Oh yeah, people have to drop. Thanks, Hafid. We have this, and just a reminder, like we're recording this. We'll be posting it on the YouTube channel, so you can like reference it as well. And we're almost to the end anyway, so like it's fine. But we have this like crazy long animation that's been generated, and then we're doing these like offsets. So we're adding left and right to the time, and then we're saying like how often, like how long is this? So modulo is a node that if you're above, so say you have a 0 to 10. If you're above 10, what it'll do is it'll like if you're here, which is probably like 12, it'll just remap you back to 2. That's what a modulo does. The question is, are you going to put the graph somewhere we can get around and play with it? Yes. It's posted in the artist channel, but like we'll also, when we post this video, we'll also post a link to the source for the filter so you can play around with it. But the modulo just like remaps you back, and then that plugs into the sample curve. So this curve, which I already drew earlier, rotation curve, is very simple, right? It just goes from 0 to 1. And then we're plugging this like long timeline thing, time 0 versus like time 500 into this. And then all this is doing is remapping from, right, the output of the sample curve is from 0 to 1. This multiply maps it from 0 to negative 90. So you actually get like a 90-degree turn. So we could do like negative 180. So you get like a full 180 flip. And with that, you set the angle. And that's it. That's like the whole filter. Color. Compile. Oh, and then I should wear it apparently. Post-process. Oh, right, and it's opaque. Yeah, we'll just wear the filter instead. Where is my thing? And so the final filter looks like this. And so we can go like in a different workshop. This one's getting a little bit long, but we can go over like the post-process. So we have this new fancy post-process here that does all the like flares and crazy distorted crosses, but like, we can make it lines, you can make it triangles, stars, flakes, etc. You can bloom things out and go crazy. So yeah, if there's any other questions, otherwise it seems like everybody's ready to go, like Bell's ready to go to sleep. You're welcome. Get some rest. Thanks for showing up. Yeah, and we'll be around if you have any other further questions.